Hi everyone, this is Team 12. Today we are here to share our findings on the topic of do collaborations matter? In recent years, we have seen an increased trend of artist collaborations. It is one of the most popular marketing strategy in music because it can not only result in something cross-genre, it also opens up a brand new pool of audience to these artists. We wanted to put this strategy to test and see if the results of collaborations are statistically relevant. Due to the time limitation and restricted access and data, we designed a baseline model for how we would go about this process with the available variables. Our hypotheses are as follows. Our question is, will artist collaboration on a single release increase the success rate and net percentage gain of Spotify followers? And these two are our null hypothesis and our alternative.
Yeah, so we collected our data from Chartmetrics API, and it consists of 100 records that were previously placed on the Pop Rising playlist on Spotify from 2017 to October 23rd of 2020. And our measure of success is follower conversion, net gain percentage, which was calculated by taking the number of followers a week after they were removed from the playlist, minus the number of followers that they had a week before they were added to the playlist. Next slide. And so it consisted of 56% of the records had a featured artist. And you can see most of the records, or most of the artists had followers before the playlist between 58,000 and 309,000. And so our outliers were above 309,000 followers before they were added to the playlist. Next.
So the original data set has about 31 variables, but here are the top 5 that were most used for the analysis. First is the duration S, which is the song's duration in seconds. The second is followers conversion, artist Spotify followers conversion rate in percentages. The third is playlist position, where do they stand in the playlist, and then days on playlist, how many days a song is on the playlist, and lastly, collab, whether an artist on the playlist does a collaboration or not. So here are just some of the statistical models used to do the analysis. So the model one answers the main hypothesis, and the results shows that artist Spotify followers conversion rate and collaboration status are not significantly correlated. For model 2, notice the graph showed that although artists who collaborated have a better playlist position, which is good, but they tend to have lower followers conversion rate. So model 3 showed that there are 2 specific artists, Zayn and NF, who tend to do well when other combinations of paired interaction terms are taken into consideration. Model 4 yields some interesting insights. It looks like Columbia Records and Curtis Waters will be your aim if you want to collaborate with other artists and increase your conversion rate, since they produce the highest Spotify followers conversion rate. So if you're a rising artist looking for collaborations, you now know who to look for. And I think this is an interesting insight. As you can see on the left half of the graph, when artists did not collaborate, they tend to have a higher follower conversion rate than artists who did collaborate, which is shown on the right half of the chart. And looking at the differences in followers conversion rate, the rate for those who did not collaborate is at least twice as much if you look from the starting point of the 2 graphs. Next.
This visualization looks at the net followers gained when an artist collaborates. You can see when Lil Nas X collaborated, he had the highest net followers increase by 329%. On the next slide, you'll see that when he did not collaborate, he also had the highest followers increase by 471%.
So one of the drawbacks of our test was that our sample size was too small. We needed at least 157 in order for it to be sufficient. This comes to our conclusion. If we had more time, we would be able to gather more data and look at other variables, which would provide us with a much more detailed analysis of the effectiveness of collaborations. Also, we focus on artist to artist, but there's also different types of collaborations we can also look at, such as collaborations with brands, companies, or venues and streaming services. As said before, music is becoming more and more global, so collaborations with artists from different parts of the world are also a very effective tool. Overall, emerging artists are It's very effective for emerging artists to look into collaborations, whether they want to grow regionally or on a much larger scale globally.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so let's open up the floor to judges. Judges, fire away your questions.
Hey, pretty good presentation and enjoyed that. I've got a couple of questions, but I'll probably just ask one in case there's more time. I'll go to another one. But the first one, I guess, is just like, how do you kind of empirically check if some of these folks who are kind of like on upward curves that happen to just kind of coincide with their playlist, where like basically they may be getting followers, but it's not because they had a collab or not because they're on the playlist. It's kind of like, how do you account for, I don't know, like the rest of the world having its effects on these folks and their following?
Yeah, sure. We got this through a specific Spotify playlist. So we use all the artists and whatever variables and data over there. And then we ran some linear regressions and various type of linear regression models to determine the outcome. And yeah, these are some of the insights that we found.
I have a question, but I've realized I've asked questions on all the others so far. So happy if Mark or Paulina have something, happy to for them to jump into.
Thanks. I do actually have a question. Did I understand that slide right, that follower conversions are higher on non-collabs? Was that correct? Brendan, I think it was one of your slides, one of the first ones you talked about.
Yes, that's right.
So is it smarter for an artist to not do collabs, or where's the slide again? I thought it was super interesting. So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think with research like this, the sample of artists that you're using is really important. So and definitely how you define emerging artists and what criteria you're using to also mark what kind of featured artists you're using. Obviously I think Spotify's pop rising is probably a bit higher of a benchmark, and by the time they're on that playlist, there's probably so many other areas that are helping boost them up. So I think there needs to be a larger conversation in terms of what artists you're including in your sample, and exactly what markets you're trying to break into, and what types of featured artists you want to help boost you.
Okay, cool. Thanks very much.
Have you looked to the difference between collaboration and versions? Because you took the example of Lil Nas X, but in fact, there are 4 versions of the same song. So don't you think that collaboration is also a way to extend the life of a song?
Yeah, that's right. But I think that when taking this into consideration, like there are many subjective factors that may affect stuff like this. So like let's say if an artist collaborate with another artist but the listener only likes listening to their favorite artist songs, and collaborator songs may have different voices and sometimes a mix of genres together. And so through this statistical analysis, it is proven that sometimes subjective factors does play a role here. So depending on the collaborations and what kind of collaborations are they making, yeah, it definitely plays a role here.